Hey everyone, I'm Michael Brew, CMO at Agent Moves, and welcome to our Good to Great series. We're all about sharing amazing stories of top realtors and how they got there so we can help make more realtors great. So let's jump in today with our guest. Please meet Adam Dow. Adam, thank you so much for joining us today. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, you're absolutely welcome. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, so I love starting with something, as you know, if you've been watching some of these videos, personal about the agent. We'll get into all the real estate talk, all that good stuff in a few minutes, but got some really cool stuff on Adam. So, ninth generation in his town. I mean, I don't even know. That's just like totally crazy. He probably owns the town, is why he's doing so great in real estate, but that's another story. Big golfer and has really used it in real estate. And I love that. I find agents that really focus within some niches really work really well for them. But something really interesting he brought up to me, just quite amazing. Anyone here, if you know the KW personality test that all of you have taken, he took the KW personality test and from what he said, scored the worst that anyone has scored in, I think, 14 years or so. So tell us a little bit about that story about taking that personality test and then still continuing in real estate.
Yeah, so it was actually the Coldwell Banker one because I started there. And when I came over to KW, I learned that I had scored the worst because the office manager at the time, that was the office manager at that office for 14 years, said that, you know, that test that you took, you scored the worst on that test that anyone I ever gave it to. So it was an office in our town. And when she came to work for me, she actually took a pay decrease, knowing that or hoping that we were going to do great things together, even though she had seen my test score.
It's amazing. It's totally amazing. Well, some of the cool things, again, we'll get into real estate in a minute, but some of the things we talked about that I think kind of show your foresight was we talked about, the early days of Google and you learning, pay per click, how to run Google ads. I mean, they came out, early 2000 was a big thing, especially in the beginning. I'm a search guy, so I really understand this, optimizing websites as well, but sounded very cool how you got involved in search early and then not having money, you were telling me to build websites, got a group to build websites for you, almost like a referral business. So I think talk about that a little because that could be used in various techniques.
Yeah, no, I'm a big win-win relationship person in that, like, if you partner with somebody, a true partnership is when the two equal more than the two could do individually. So for me, I knew I wanted a website. I knew I didn't have any money at the time. So I had to create a relationship that would be a win win, had some carrot at the end or some over the top at the end. So I basically went to a website company and said, listen, here's my resume. I've got some early success. If you build me a website, I will treat you like a referral. And every time I close on something, I'll come in with a check and we'll continue this business. So basically, I wanted to put myself on the same side of the table as them. And so I told you, my third year in the business, I gave them $77,000 worth of checks. But for me, it catapulted me into number one in the town my third year in the business. I got the other 75%. So it was good.
Amazing. I love that. And again, these are the stories that we really want to try and share, sharing wisdom with people. The focus of this is, experienced agents, really helping them be great. But it's for as well the newbies that, are getting involved in real estate early and trying to learn different things and take a little nugget of information from you and use it as their own. And this is a great one. I hear a lot of different things, but kind of bartering. You basically went back to a barter system like referrals in the agent community. And, a lot of companies are willing to barter, when they believe in you, right? When they see the opportunity and they can kind of step into it, maybe not put too much in, but they can see the ability to get it out. So, I mean, kudos to you to even come up with the idea to try and do something like that is just fabulous. So tell us now, they build the websites. Okay, first, what got you interested in real estate? Is it a family thing, or how did you get involved?
Another story. So I worked at a management consulting company where I kind of figured out cost per click advertising on my own just because it was coming out, and I like to look at new technologies. But it was in the age of the .com when they were all kind of failing, and we had a big strategic partnership lined up, and the VC company, the venture capital company that was going to fund the project, called us up and said, we're going out of business. So it kind of put things on hold, saw writing on the wall for that company. I'm on monster.com trying to apply for jobs, not getting anywhere. It was a tough job market. Caldwell Banker had a we're hiring. We were going to get a Christmas tree in the town that I grew up in. I stopped in. He said, "You're hired." I went out. I didn't even tell my girlfriend at the time that I was going in for the interview. I said, "I got a job." She said, "What does it pay?" I said, "I don't know. I'll find out." But, commission based. I'm really bad at, the personality test. So everything was lined up for me to be super successful.
Okay, so you get started, and
Yeah.
again, how does that bridge into real estate?
So I get started, and I had this little bit of knowledge. Like, I think I had this window of time that allowed me to be good at real estate. I had the generations in the town, go to a large church, and my mother was a part of a large church. And there's just, real estate's about relationships. It's about earning the trust of people to place a very important, if not the most important asset they have in your control, and to help them sell. So I just had to get in front of people and prove that I have the integrity. Like, real estate's about building trust and rapport, but ultimately solidifying the trust. And some of the hardest things is to get to the table or getting in front of the buyer. So I had this knowledge of cost per click advertising, but I also had this knowledge of growing up in the area. So I had corporate CEOs that would ask me questions about Lake Winnipesaukee. It's a second home market. Where does the sun set? Where can I go fishing? All of this knowledge that I had. And one thing that I did is I didn't oversell what I didn't know. Like, I didn't oversell things saying that I'm an expert in all these things. I was dealing with people that were great at negotiation, but the knowledge that I had, they wanted. And the integrity that I had, they wanted me to tell them, "Hey, I don't know, but I'll find out." Like, just young go-getter type atmosphere. So if I told my story online on a website, then not a lot of agents had a website at the time. So I had this platform to put a pretty good story on: business degree, consulting experience, 9 generations in the town, which got me the right to have the conversation, to build the trust, to build the rapport. And so that kind of snowballed into an early luxury business. I was actually selling the big waterfronts before I sold a lot of the residential, because that's what I focused on. And it wasn't because I sat down and say, "All right, these are more money, so I'm going to be making more money off the transaction." I was like, this is what I know best. Like, this is the neighborhood I know. Like, I used to be in my grandfather's Boston Whaler, going all over this place. That was my education that I could bring to these corporate CEOs, and it worked out great.
Wow,
And I
fabulous.
could tell the story online. Like, if I came in the 70s, like, I'd have to do a newspaper ad to try and tell the story. And if I came in later, when everybody had a website, it would be drowned out. So it was the right story, and I knew how to get it out there in the medium that was popular at the time.
Right, right. Well, again, didn't happen by accident. You somehow having the vision to learn pay-per-click and
Yeah.
what the heck was going to happen, because people in those days didn't think a lot was going to happen with Google. Same thing. I mean, I ran a digital agency when Facebook said they were going to run ads. Even within the agency, people said, "This is crazy. No one's going to buy those ads," right? And look at what's happening. So having the vision, you have the vision, my friend. So let me tell you something else you said that's, I think, very important. And what I try and get out of these video interviews is, again, these nuggets of information that people can use, right? You said something, I think, really important that people, I don't know, young people, I find, don't live by. You don't need to know everything, right? You need to know what you don't know. And people appreciate you more when you say, "You know what, I'm going to go find out about that." So a beautiful way of, you brushed over it lightly, but I'm telling you that a lot of people feel like they need to be in the room, the smartest person in the room, and they need to know everything. No, it's not the case.
No, I'd rather be the source of the source, and because that will get you more phone calls later. Because if you prove during the transaction that if you don't know something, but you have a phone number of somebody who does, 6 months later, when they're going to ask a question, they're going to ask you again, because they trust that if you don't know, you're going to find out who does.
Yeah, spot on. But again, I don't know if it's a DNA thing, if it's an age thing, but I've always felt that way. Obviously, it's worked for you. But again, nugget for people watching: you don't need to know everything. It's even better that you don't. No one expects you to. They expect you to be able to find the answers as quickly as possible. But they do appreciate, I think, the honesty, and that builds the integrity. Yeah. So, okay, you get going, right? You start to build the business. Tell us how those first 2, 3 years, right away with the pay-per-click and with the website, you're having some great success. Tell us how it starts going then to build a team. Like, when do you decide, I want to get this thing bigger?
Yeah. So, knowing what cost per click was in 2006, and then 2003, and then teaming with this website company that built a number of websites, I started getting too many leads, right? So I would be getting calls all the time. The families like, get off the phone. I'm like, well, this is a lead. I don't know if it's a $4 million lead or a $200,000 lead. And so I started a referral network of people that I didn't even do referral forms. I just said, hey, if I send you a name and phone number, call them. They want to buy something. Like, so I had people on the other side of the lake. I had people in ski country, and that worked great for a while. I had the relief. I didn't have to feel like I was doing all the pressure. But the problem in that was I lost the client for life. I just gave somebody else the relationship. Like, they could nurture and sell houses to their friends and things like that. So when I came over to KW in 2013, they talked about the team. I'm like, well, I've got a team. I didn't have a team that I could control the process. I could get the client for life. So when I joined KW, I could have the agents that were all under one roof. We could have a process in place to provide the next level of service. So it was great. It was a good transition from having just a lead-based business that overflowed to other referral agents to have a bigger business that I could control and get repeat business down the road. And then, so that's been the last 10 years.
Wow. Wow. Just absolutely great. I know you said you have a team of about 20.
Yeah.
How does it break down, like rainmakers, backroom?
Yeah. So for me, New Hampshire's it's a very small state. It's very spread out. I joke that's 150 realtors in my town and generally about 150 sales. So, if we each had one, that would be pretty equitable, but I'd rather have 25% of the market like I do. But even with 25% of the market, that's not a big business. So I had this referral network, but it wasn't in my town. Obviously, I'm referring them to other places. So now I had the team, and we created what we call area experts. I'm 9 generations Wolfboro. I'm not 9 generations 45 minutes away on the other side of the lake. So for me, I wanted to find people that could be ambassadors, represent their areas like I represented Wolfboro. And people really like that, because in real estate, it's hard to do the handoffs. I'm the name on the sign. This is the last time you're going to talk to me. I'm going to hand you to somebody. Like, that's how it feels. But in our world, I'm Adam Dow. This is what I do on the team. And, oh, you're looking in Meredith? Fantastic. I've got, our area expert for Meredith is Shanna. She owns a waterfront there. There's a reason that there's going to be another conversation, and that conversation actually adds value to the one that we just had. Right. So in New Hampshire, we've spread out, and we're looking for, and we have area experts all over the state. New Hampshire is great because it's one MLS, one set of rules. So we can expand all over the place. And I'd rather have 2 or 3 really strong, really ingrained agents in the community than have one agency in one town with 50 agents. So it's like that. So that's how we're growing. We're like, all right, we want a couple people here, we want a couple people there, and we're on Zoom all the time. So it's the challenges of spread out agents is there, but I think we do a pretty good job at that.
No, excellent. And even, everyone talks about, some local expertise, right? I mean, we recommend, besides market updates to our agents, they also send out a, top 3 events happening this month within my area, right? Just to kind of show prospective buyers, sellers, the area. It sounds like to me, you've taken this to the next level of truly looking at agents that have lived, breathed, know that community. That's different.
Yeah. I mean, they're providing just like I said before, with me knowing my part of Winnipesaukee by being in my grandfather's Boston Whaler as a kid. Like, it's that level of education that it's very hard to pick up, So I used to say I can hire agents that are new to the area or new to real estate, because I could teach the other one. But I'm finding that I'd rather have somebody that's new to real estate, but just has lived there in an area or just ingrained into the community, because the real estate part of it, I can add value. We've got the systems, all that kind of stuff, but it's hard to teach, being on a committee or being a part of a charity or being a member of the golf course or being buddies with the best accountant in town. Like that has a lot of value. Or knowing the other agents in the town, so the listings that are coming, like the things that are very micro. We have those relationships all over the place, and we foster them, and we teach how to earn those relationships based on how I built my business in Wolfboro. That's how we build businesses for teammates around the state.
Absolutely fantastic. So I love the strategy. I think you've given us some great ideas on the positive. Okay, give us some ideas on, I don't want to call it the negative, but some of the stuff you've done that that agents should avoid. right? In growing the team and considering, new agents, markets, whatever. Give us those, one or two of those. Damn, I never should have done that. Would have saved me a fortune.
Well, I think, and I'm asked this question, what would you do differently? It's always the question of looking back. And the thing that pops to the top for me is I'm a creative person. I'm a marketing person. Like if I'm procrastinating, I'm thinking about a marketing idea. I'm not doing what I'm supposed to be doing. Like so for me, it's being creative, but then allowing for systemized time or systemized approaches to things. So I would have stopped being creative sooner. Like when I got a luxury listing back in the day, I do a nice brochure this time or a single property website, or, it's just kind of bouncing all over the place and not putting a system in place that I can improve on. So as a new agent, I think one of the best things that you can do is say, here are the 30 things that I'm going to do for every single one of my listings. I'm gonna list it out. I'm gonna put in there some things that are unique to me and only I can do or only I'm willing to commit to. As a new agent, you might have more time. So you can say, listen, I know that there's agents that have sold a lot of real estate in this town. But one thing that I do as a new agent is I call every single one of those agents and I actually offer them a little bit of an incentive to sell my listings, knowing that they're probably going to have a buyer. So I want to incent them to work with me. So if you work with me, you're actually working with all 5 of the top agents in the town because I've made this relationship. Like I've done that when I've gone into a new town. I remember I was going into a town that has nice little lakes and I hadn't sold a lot over there yet. And I sat down with each of the top producers. I said, you know what? I respect you. I know you've done a lot in this town and most likely you're going to help me sell this house. And here's what I'm prepared to do to incentivize you to help me, instead of looking at me say, oh, great, now he's in my town. He's going to, try to sell a bunch of houses in this town. It's all about incentive. So that was a long tangent for my list. But so think of those one-off things that you can set yourself apart, but also think about the things that you have to do, because there's 2 things you can do with that list. One is you can use it for your listing presentation. Like it's a very sound way. It makes you seem like a business person. You've done it before. Here's the things that I'm going to do. Here are the things that are unique. Here are the things that make sure that nothing slips through the cracks. But then you can take that list and say, all right, here are the things that I can hire somebody to do. Because some people hire an assistant because everyone thinks I need an assistant. But then the assistant sits in the corner not knowing what to do because you don't have a system in place. I had assistants like that in my first 10 years, always waiting for me to tell them something. So I would have come up with my rock solid listing action plan, pre-listing, listing, post, closing sooner, made it rock solid, and then just kept improving it from there.
Fabulous. Love it. So you've given us some great advice, through some of just the talking. There are so many good things that you've pulled out and spoken about. So I really appreciate it. That's what I hope. I mean, if someone, you get a nugget, one thing from any interview like this, it's a home run for you. But I think you got a couple of great things in here you shared. I can't thank you enough. I love again, on the negative side as well, it's not so negative, but that approach, which also relates to knowing what you don't know. Not being the one that has to know everything. They really do relate to me. You've organized them into a system of knowing what you don't know or don't like doing or someone can do better. And I think that really helps.
There might be some that don't like doing in that.
That's right. I would think there would be. This was awesome, Adam. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Please follow Adam on social media. Oh, I do have one more question.
Go
Now
for
that
it.
you have this team of 20,
Yep.
okay, and you had all of the, pay-per-click, experience on the website, so life has changed, right? What are you doing now? How do you keep these leads flowing for 20 agents?
So part of ours is the lead generation on the cold leads, the marketing that people see, social media and things like that. But I've also realized that people that are ingrained in their community look to each other to find out who's the best realtor in town. So the sphere-based business will never go away,
Yeah.
right? So it's like my website business just gave my sphere a reason to hire me instead of the other 4 realtors that they know. Like, so you have to have the rock solid thing, but don't lose sight of the sphere based, let's get in front of them. So some of the ads I do is just so my sphere can see it. It's not necessarily to sell the property or what have you, but don't so we're doubling down. We've got categories for our sphere. We have top 10 influencers, top 100 influencers. We have our people to know. We have a tag in our CRM, have relationship, earning relationship. Like, so, again, that system thing, we're like, what I did naturally in the first 10 years, and I hired agents on my team and just assumed that they would do it the same way. that didn't happen. It's like, all right, you have to actually be intentional about the accountant that you're in a relationship with, or the tax strategist. I was just having a conversation today with one of my agents. How's your people to know list? How, are you calling them? Are they tagged in your CRM? Are you letting them know that you just gave out their name to a client? So sphere-based business is still alive and well.
Totally huge. For successful agents, that database is your retirement, right? Handle properly your sphere and your past customers. You could almost not do anything else as you've built this, right? As someone like you that's been in the business this long, you could live off of this if you wanted to do nothing else.
It's the boring, consistent, tried and true method that, I'd rather do that fun marketing, smoke and mirrors, like that's the fun stuff. But you got to dig into your database.
You need the meat and potatoes, definitely. Again, Adam, thank you so much. Please follow Adam on social media, follow Agent Moves, sign up, subscribe to our YouTube account. And Adam, thanks again. Really appreciate the time today.
It was fun. Thank you.
Okay. All right, awesome.